Spencer Dutton's long-awaited return to Montana isn't the homecoming he imagined, it's a battleground. Episode 7 is a game-changer, shaking the very foundation of the Dutton dynasty. As the war for Yellowstone reaches its boiling point, alliances will shatter, betrayals will cut deep, and sacrifices will leave scars that may never heal. With only 2 episodes left, the tension is unbearable. One character won't make it to the finale, and the storm that's been brewing since the very beginning is about to explode in ways no one saw coming. Brace yourself for the most intense, emotional, and action-packed episode of 1923 yet. So let's break it all down. After the intense shootout at the Yellowstone Ranch in Episode 5, the Duttons are picking up the pieces literally and figuratively. Jacob survived, thank goodness, but the ranch suffered serious damage. The attack from Donald's men was just the beginning, though. What's coming next is going to make that shootout look like child's play. As I predicted last week, a Dutton family member did fall during the attack. While many of you guessed it would be Jack or Elizabeth, it was actually one of the ranch hands who had been with the family since season 1. His death has sparked something in Jacob that we haven't seen before: pure, unfiltered rage. Jacob Dutton is done playing fair. He knows Donald won't stop until he takes the ranch, so now Jacob is gearing up for war. No more waiting. No more second chances. The battle for Yellowstone is about to ignite like never before. Meanwhile, an unlikely alliance takes center stage: Spencer and Tiana. Ever since their fateful meeting in Episode 5, these 2 survivors have been bound by desperation and fate. Spencer, determined to return home, has taken Tiana under his wing. But their journey is more than just an escape from danger. It's 2 lost souls running from their pasts, each carrying scars that refuse to fade. Spencer is a man on a mission, charging toward Montana. Tiana is running for her life, relentlessly pursued by the monstrous priest who won't stop until he finds her. Their bond is forged in fire. Tension crackles between them, fueled by mutual respect and the unyielding will to survive. And then Episode 6 changes everything. Spencer and Tiana are close to Montana, but safety is still out of reach. The priest, now backed by reinforcements, is closing in fast, setting the stage for a brutal showdown. For Spencer, a seasoned hunter and war veteran, this is the ultimate test, not just of skill, but of his very soul. Then comes the moment, the one that will leave you breathless. Trapped in an abandoned barn, Spencer unleashes a level of violence we haven't seen since his days in Africa. It's raw. It's savage. And it shows just how far he's willing to go to protect those he swore to stand by. The title of the episode doesn't lie: Spencer does save Tiana. But how he does it, that's what will haunt them both. Tiana, who has already endured unimaginable horrors, witnesses a side of Spencer so ruthless, even he struggles to recognize himself. The cost of survival is steep, and for these 2, the price is only beginning to reveal itself. Will this rescue drive a wedge between them or forge an unbreakable bond? The answer may shock you. Back at the ranch, Kara is holding the Duttons together as Jacob prepares for the war ahead. With the weight of the ranch on her shoulders, she's also become a mother figure to Elizabeth, who is facing pregnancy complications that threaten not just her life but the future of the Dutton legacy. As Jack is pulled deeper into the fight, the stress is taking a toll on Elizabeth. Ordered to rest, she confesses to Kara in a heartbreaking moment. "My fear isn't just for myself or the baby, but for the family's entire future. With war looming, impossible choices must be made. And as the battle lines are drawn, one thing is clear: no one makes it out of this unscathed. What kind of world are we bringing this child into?" she asks Kara. The answer, as we're about to find out, is a world at war. Donald Whitfield's character takes on a new dimension in Episode 6. We get a rare glimpse into his past through a series of flashbacks triggered by a confrontation with Banner. It turns out Donald's obsession with Yellowstone isn't just about land or money, it's deeply personal. His father once worked for a rancher very similar to Jacob Dutton, and the story of how that ended explains so much about why Donald is the man he is today. The flashbacks are short but powerful, showing a young Donald watching his father's humiliation at the hands of a wealthy rancher. It's not enough to justify his actions, of course, but it adds a layer to his character that makes him even more terrifying. He's not just a greedy businessman, he's a man on a mission of revenge against a way of life that the Duttons represent. Banner, meanwhile, is reaching his breaking point. The telegraph about Spencer's return to Montana has shaken him more than expected. He knows that Spencer's arrival could change everything, not just for the Duttons, but for his own plans as well. Banner's wife notices his distraction and confronts him about it, leading to one of the most revealing conversations we've had about Banner's character. "You're afraid of him, aren't you?" she asks, referring to Donald. Banner doesn't answer directly, but his silence speaks volumes. The truth is, Banner is caught between two impossible choices: continue helping Donald destroy the Duttons and live with that guilt, or back out and potentially become Donald's next target. The solution Banner comes up with is shocking even for him. He decides that the only way to protect himself is to be the one who finds Spencer first, not to kill him. Banner isn't quite there yet, but to warn him about what's waiting at Yellowstone. It's a desperate move that shows just how conflicted Banner really is. Will Spencer trust the man trying to steal his family's land? Or will he see through the deception? If you know Spencer Dutton, you already know the answer. But just as his instincts sharpen, his journey with Tiana takes an unexpected turn. On their way west, they cross paths with a group of travelers bound for Wyoming, among them a soldier from Spencer's past. At first, it seems like a reunion worth celebrating. But something is off. The way his old friend keeps glancing at Tiana, the subtle but pointed questions about their destination, it all feels wrong. Spencer senses it too, leading to an unforgettable moment of tension. You can see it in his eyes, the realization that danger is closer than he thought. The episode explodes into its most electrifying sequence yet. No spoilers, but let's just say it involves a midnight escape, a stolen horse, and Spencer tapping into every brutal skill he honed in Africa to outmaneuver a ruthless band of bounty hunters hunting Tiana. The chase is a cinematic masterpiece set against the backdrop of a raging thunderstorm. Lightning fractures the sky, illuminating the chaos in eerie flashes. Spencer turns the darkness into his greatest weapon, slipping through the shadows like a ghost. But then the storm separates them. Tiana, lost and cornered by two bounty hunters, faces a moment that will define who Spencer Dutton truly is. What follows is both breathtaking and terrifying, a rescue that is neither clean nor easy. By the end of it, Spencer is wounded, their path forward uncertain. But one thing is clear: they are no longer just travelers. They are bound by survival, by trust, and by the blood they've spilled together. Meanwhile, back at Yellowstone Ranch, the war is reaching its boiling point. After the brutal attack in the last episode, Jacob has turned the ranch into a fortress. Every ranch hand and loyal neighbor has taken up arms. Lookouts guard the ridgelines, and ammunition is stacked high in the barn. At the center of it all is Jack Dutton, rising to the occasion in a way that makes Jacob both proud and deeply worried. In a rare, quiet moment, before the storm, Jacob shares a piece of his past, recounting the wars he's fought and the sacrifices that came with them. Because he knows this isn't just about defending their land, it's about the cost of war itself. And by the time this battle is over, no one will walk away unscathed. "The hardest part isn't the fighting," he tells Jack. "It's living with what you've done afterward." It's a sobering conversation that foreshadows the violence to come. Donald's next move isn't a direct attack, it's much smarter than that. He uses his connections in the local government to have a judge issue an order claiming the Duttons have defaulted on their property taxes. It's a complete fabrication, of course, but it gives Donald's men legal cover to approach the ranch. This puts Jacob in an impossible position: fight against what appears to be a legal order and risk being branded an outlaw, or comply and lose everything. The scene where the sheriff delivers this notice to Jacob is masterfully done, with the sheriff clearly uncomfortable with his role, but too afraid of Donald to refuse. Kara comes up with a third option that shows just how clever she really is. She suggests they comply with the order temporarily while sending Jack to the county seat to straighten out the false tax claims. It's a dangerous mission for Jack, who will be entering territory controlled by Donald's allies, but it's their best hope. The moment when Jack says goodbye to Elizabeth before leaving is heartbreaking, especially when she presses his hand against her belly so he can feel the baby kick. "That's your son, reminding you to come back to us," she tells him. And I swear I wasn't the only one tearing up during that scene. What Elizabeth doesn't know is that Jacob and Kara have made contingency plans in case things go badly. They've prepared a hidden cabin deep in the mountains where they can take Elizabeth if they're forced to abandon the ranch. Jacob shows this place to Kara in a scene that reveals just how long he's been preparing for this possibility. "My brother always told me to have a place where no one could find us," he tells Kara, referring, of course, to James Dutton from 1883. The cabin is stocked with supplies, hidden from view, and defensible a last resort that Jacob hopes they won't need. The fact that he's showing it to Kara now tells us just how serious the situation has become. Meanwhile, the tension between Banner and Donald reaches its breaking point. Banner, after learning about Spencer's imminent return and seeing the increasingly brutal tactics Donald is willing to use, finally stands up to his boss. It doesn't go well. Donald reminds Banner of all the illegal activities he's participated in, essentially threatening to take Banner down with him if he tries to back out now. Their confrontation takes place in Donald's study, with Donald remaining eerily calm while Banner becomes increasingly agitated. The power dynamic is crystal clear. Donald holds all the cards, and Banner has painted himself into a corner with no easy way out. What Banner doesn't know is that Donald has already planned for his potential betrayal. In a chilling scene, we see Donald meeting with a new character, a professional gunman hired specifically to deal with Spencer when he arrives, and anyone else who gets in the way, including Banner if necessary. This new threat is unlike the others we've seen so far. He's calm, calculating, and clearly experienced in killing. The way he discusses the job with Donald, as if they're talking about the weather rather than multiple murders, is deeply unsettling. Donald gives him a list of names, and the camera focuses just long enough for us to see that Spencer's name is at the top, followed by Jacob, Jack, and surprisingly Banner himself. The episode really hits its stride when we return to Spencer and Tiana's journey. After escaping the bounty hunters, they're forced to abandon their original route and head into more dangerous territory. Spencer's wound from the rescue is slowing them down, and Tiana is doing her best to treat it with their limited supplies. There's a beautiful moment where Tiana uses a traditional healing method she learned from her grandmother, singing softly as she applies a poultice to Spencer's injury. It's one of the rare, quiet moments in the episode, allowing us to see another side of their relationship developing. Their detour takes them through a stretch of land known to be dangerous for travelers. Spencer explains that they don't have a choice. The main roads will be watched now that the bounty hunters know they're headed for Montana. What he doesn't tell Tiana is that his wound is worse than he's letting on. In a private moment, Spencer checks it, and we can see that infection is setting in. The determination on his face when he covers it back up tells us everything. He's going to get Tiana to safety and himself home to Montana, no matter the personal cost. The landscape they're traveling through becomes almost a character itself, in this part of the episode, harsh, beautiful, and unforgiving. It tests them at every turn. Food is scarce, water even more so, and the weather continues to work against them. But it also provides moments of stunning beauty, a sunset that paints the sky in impossible colors, a herd of wild horses galloping across a valley, stars so bright they seem close enough to touch. These moments remind us of what the Duttons are fighting for, not just land, but a legacy. Land, but a way of life, a connection to something greater than themselves. Their journey takes a tense and unexpected turn when they cross paths with a Native American hunting party. Tiana instantly recognizes them as allies of her people, but Spencer, ever the survivor, remains on edge. He's learned the hard way that trust is a luxury he can't afford. The group's leader, an elder named Running Wolf, senses their hesitation and offers them a place by his fire for the night. It's a gamble, but with Spencer's wound worsening and their supplies dwindling, they have little choice but to accept. What follows is one of the most powerful moments of the episode. As the fire crackles under the vast night sky, Running Wolf shares stories that stretch back centuries, tales of battles, betrayals, and the deep, unbreakable bond between his people and the land they walk on. Tiana listens with reverence, understanding the weight of his words in a way Spencer never could. But Spencer, despite his outsider status, listens intently. There's something about these stories, their history, their pain, their resilience that speaks to him. By morning, they're given more than just shelter. Running Wolf's people provide them with fresh food, medicine for Spencer's wound, and, most importantly, a warning. There are men ahead, Running Wolf tells them. Men with guns. Men who ask too many questions. Spencer nods, unsurprised. Danger was always part of the path home. This is just another obstacle to overcome. But the journey grows harder. Spencer's injury is taking its toll, slowing them down more than he's willing to admit. When Tiana finally demands to see the wound, her reaction says it all. It's bad. Worse than you let on. You should have told me, she scolds, frustration and fear woven into her voice. Spencer, ever the stoic warrior, simply replies, wouldn't have changed our direction. Because for him, Montana isn't just a destination anymore, it's an obsession, a promise he refuses to break, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, back at Yellowstone, the storm is already breaking. Jack's mission to the county seat, to expose Donald's fraudulent tax claims, has ended in disaster. Though he uncovered the truth, the price of that knowledge was steep. Ambushed by Donald's men, the fight is raw, desperate, and unflinchingly brutal. Jack barely escapes, bloodied and battered, pushing his horse to its limits just to make it home. When he finally arrives at the ranch, it's a moment of gut-wrenching emotion. Slumped over in the saddle, barely conscious, he's met by the horrified faces of Kara and Elizabeth. The relief in their eyes quickly shifts to something much darker as they see the extent of his injuries. The image of them rushing to him, the fear etched on their faces, will stay with you long after the episode ends. With war closing in on all sides, one thing is clear: this is only the beginning of the fight, and not everyone will survive it. As Jack recovers, he provides Jacob with critical information. Donald's next move will be an all-out assault on the ranch, not just by his own men, but with the backing of corrupt local officials. The attack could come at any time, and they need to be ready. Jacob calls everyone at the ranch together for a meeting where he lays out the situation in stark terms. Anyone who wants to leave should do so now with no shame or judgment. What happens next shows the true strength of the Dutton legacy. Not a single person leaves. Instead, they begin further fortifying the ranch, preparing for a siege that could last days or even weeks. The preparations are intercut with scenes of Donald gathering his forces. He's hired additional men, professional gunfighters with no conscience and no connection to the area. To them, this is just another job. The contrast between these mercenaries and the ranch hands defending Yellowstone couldn't be clearer. One group is fighting for money, the other for home, family, and a way of life. The outcome of such a conflict should be predictable, but Donald has numbers and resources on his side. It's going to be a close fight, and the episode builds this tension masterfully. During one of their rest stops, Tiana tells Spencer more about her own story, the school, the abuse she suffered, and her escape. It's the most she's ever shared with him, a sign of the trust that's developed between them. Spencer listens silently, and when she finishes, he simply says, "They'll have to kill me before they take you back there." It's not an emotional declaration, just a statement of fact, but it means everything to Tiana. Banner's journey is more desperate. He's pushing his horse to its limits, knowing that finding Spencer before Donald's gunman does is a matter of life and death. There's a moment where Banner stops at a trading post to ask about any travelers matching Spencer and Tiana's description. The trader is suspicious and evasive, until Banner offers a substantial amount of money for information. The trader then tells him about a man and a young native woman who passed through 2 days earlier, headed north. Banner is about to leave when the trader mentions something else. Another man had been asking the same questions just hours before. The description he gives matches Donald's gunman exactly. Banner's expression says it all. The race is even more urgent than he thought. Donald's gunman is methodical in his pursuit. He follows Banner's trail easily, keeping just far enough behind to avoid detection. There's something chilling about his patience, his absolute confidence that he'll catch up to his targets eventually. At one point, he stops at the same trading post Banner visited. The conversation he has with the trader is brief but menacing. When the trader tries to get more money from him for information, the gunman simply stares at him until the trader backs down and tells him everything he told Banner. As the gunman leaves, we see the trader's hands shaking, a small detail that speaks volumes about the kind of man Donald has hired. Back at the Yellowstone, the tension has reached its peak. Lookouts have spotted riders approaching from the direction of town, a large group, too many to be friendly. Jacob orders everyone into their defensive positions. The ranch house becomes a fortress, with furniture barricaded against the windows and armed men at every possible entry point. Kara helps Jack to his position, despite his injuries, and there's a moment of quiet understanding between them. "We've been here before," she tells him, referring to previous attacks on the ranch. "And we're still standing." It's a reminder of the Dutton resilience, their ability to weather whatever storms come their way. The three storylines converge in an abandoned town near the Montana border. Spencer and Tiana arrive first, planning to rest briefly before making the final push across the border. The town is eerily empty, with buildings half collapsed and tumbleweeds blowing through the deserted streets. They choose the most intact building, an old hotel, to take shelter in, unaware that they're being watched. Banner arrives next, having pushed his horse to exhaustion. He approaches the town cautiously, scanning for any sign of Spencer or the gunman. When he spots horses behind the hotel, he dismounts and proceeds on foot, his hand on his gun. The gunman arrives last, but he's the most prepared. He circles the town before entering, identifying all possible exits and points of ambush. He's done this before many times, and his experience shows in every calculated move. The scene cuts between these three perspectives as they move through the town, creating unbearable tension as we wait for the inevitable confrontation. Spencer, weakened by his wound, doesn't realize they're in danger until Tiana spots movement outside. By then, it might be too late. What happens next is a masterclass in suspense. Banner finds Spencer and Tiana first, bursting into the hotel room with his gun drawn. Spencer, despite his weakened state, reacts instantly, tackling Banner to the ground. Tiana grabs a lamp, ready to use it as a weapon. It's only when Banner gasps out, "Dutton!" that Spencer hesitates. Banner quickly explains who he is and why he's there to warn Spencer about the gunman. Spencer is skeptical, but something in Banner's desperate sincerity convinces him to listen. Just as Banner is explaining Donald's plans for the ranch, a shot rings out, shattering the window. The gunman has found them. What follows is an intense cat-and-mouse game through the abandoned hotel. Spencer, Banner, and Tiana are outmatched,